All right, I'm back. So we were discussing about the roadmap for DevOps. So we talked about learning a language. So there are so many choices, right? So much of choices. So I'll write a small blog post explaining what are the choices that you have. You have Java, Python, and load of other things, right? Yeah. So for all these things, don't worry. Like we have learned some of these principles, true. But then, if you are not familiar of any of these things, I can give good references. So we were here like learning about servers. So we talked about the different type of Linux distros, and also remember, don't ever forget Windows, even though it's a let's say, but no, it's a good operating system, right? So when you start learning about Linux, sorry, Windows kernels and all that, it has the same level of depth and the interest. The only concern probably is there's a lot of hate towards Windows in the community, right? Again, not in the terms of the IT in this IT in the sense of technology services. They like Windows, but yeah, but as the community of devs, like maybe choices would be Linux and Unix and other things, right? All right, and also you have to learn to live in the terminal. So what is this thing? Okay, got it. So you have to live in the terminal. So if you have not done shell, like even with your Windows, go to CMD, go to PowerShell, live in the terminal, right? So there are a lot of things to learn about. So these things some of you have learned. Learn text manipulation tools. So grep is something very useful, and basic. Then cut, echoes, and also egreps and word counts. So those are quite interesting tools on text manipulation, regex and all that. And then we had sessions for bash. Maybe some of you have not, because this class is taken by some different types of badges, so some of you are not going into the like details of bash scripting. That's all right, but remember, bash is beautiful. You can do all types of shell scripting on bash, right? And also you have to have some kind of hands-on experience on vim or vim or PowerShell or Emacs on Nano, right? So my choice is Vim, but because we started with Vim, but now there are better tools, of course, things like Nano, and of course, in the Windows world, people are happy with PowerShell. And I do think PowerShell can be installed in other operating systems as well. So then you have process monitoring tool. I have one of my videos about Linux processors. Please watch it. I don't know yet to pop up that suggestion videos or something like that, but in my playlist called Linux or System Administration, you can find out the Linux process. So I talked about PS in detail, top, HTOP, not about ATOP, but we talk about several other fancy tools to do process monitoring. And networking, yes, again, I have a video on Nmap and all these tiny tools, not tiny, like they are great tools to understand. So IP tables is a quite a fascinating tool. So to do like firewalling, a TCP dump is a great tool to dump your content, right? The networking content, and also there are other tools here to look at the system performance, not only process but looking at the overall system performance. So you have Nmon and plenty more tools, right? I'm not sure that I have any of these things installed in this machine. Yeah, so but if you use some of them, uh, you can get a lot of knowledge. And strace is another great tool. So strace can give you what's happening in a function call. So these are quite interesting tools. So and QNAME and all these things. All right. Right. So now again, talking about the servers, then you have the other technologies, networking and security protocols. So there's a handful here. Of course, HTTP, HTTPS, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, then the Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol, FTP File Transfer Protocol, or SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol, SSL, TLS, SSH, and also there are other protocols which is important. And also when you talk about server handling, what is and how to set up any of these servers, HTTP server, HTTPS server, SMTP server, those are nice, pretty practicals that you can do. I have a playlist of all these things. You can have a look at them and you can learn all of these things, right? And also you have to understand what is the reverse proxy, load balancer, forward proxy, and also firewall. All right, so we'll jump, and also web server technologies are there. You have different type categories of web servers, Nginx, IIS, Apache. So those are the famous ones, and there are other things as well. Right. So now we are jumping into the core or the core technologies in. Don't assume that these things are not important. This is like the base, but on that base you build these other things. So what are these things that you have to understand? So my idea is also to do a set of videos or set of lessons on these separate techniques. So of course core here would be containers, right? So you have Docker and then LXC. So Docker is more famous, so yeah, so some people probably go for LXC. And then you have for the automation side, so it says configuration management side, you have Ansible, Chef, Salt, Puppet. So Ansible is popular, even though there's a purple here. So Ansible is so it's so popular with Linux, and also they really push it, right? So no harm in learning more of Ansible. And when it comes to container orchestration, where you have multiple containers and you have to handle multiple containers in an orchestration or in a kind of a swarm, that's where you need Kubernetes. So it's a Google technology, which is so famous, and also there's a competing technology, Docker Swarm. It's hard to compete in the sense because Docker Swarm is easy to configure, and unlike Kubernetes, but Docker Swarm has a lot less options. Right, and then infrastructure provisioning. So provisioning is important at the deployment stage. So we have tools like Terraform, Formation, and few other tools. All right, so these are the major four things that you require to set up the basic elements. Then to run it, right? So to make it a pipeline, you need to have the CI/CD tool. So there are two major things here: continuous integration and continuous delivery. Right, so rest of the things all get connected to this. As you can see, this whole list then goes with CI and CD tools. With that, probably so the major one that you probably heard about Jenkins, but remember there are other commercial. This is also commercial, but there's open source side for it. But there are other tools which are very important like Bamboo, Azure DevOps, Circle CI, Travis CI, and few other things. Right, so these technologies also will get a synopsis later. Right, so then of course clouds. You should not forget about cloud. Without cloud, these days it can be difficult to run all this smoothly, because running your own service, we discussed about this, can be pretty daunting, right? So ownership of cost of the ownership, and the rest can be pretty daunting. So scalability can be a bit of a big issue, right? So then comes log management. Logs management is monitoring, SOC, and all the security stuff, cool stuff, which I really like. So there you can use the ELK stack, Elastic stack, or you have Elastic and log and also Kibana. So those are pretty technologies, cool technologies, and also there are the Splunk. So these are great tools. So which you can deep dive, and then you can understand how to monitor, how to record, how to log manage, author account, and all these things. And then under monitoring also there are quite neat tools, Prometheus, Anagios, and there's a handful of tools. Under application monitoring, again there are a set of tools, right? And also then you have don't forget about the design patterns you learn in software engineering. So that also comes into play here. All right, so this is the that pretty or unpretty roadmap for DevOps. So see, like mm, keep a printout of this if you are jumping into this area. So keep a copy of this, and every day, like so what you're supposed to do, you can refer my video series or lesson series on this, or else there are, you go to YouTube, you can have millions of videos, and there are of course few good videos or few good playlists. But always start with something like, I want to learn Docker in 15 minutes. Start with this bite-sized videos, get the overall idea, right? So of course I would really like I would really like for you guys to come into my channel and subscribe it, and and like my videos and comment my videos and watch it. But still, there are so many other good places. Wherever you go, you can find good content. So please understand. So you don't really have to worry on learning these things. So the resources are plentiful. The only thing that you need is the time, priority, and also consistency. All right. So that's basically is the roadmap. All right. So it's pretty interesting. So I want you guys to learn hard and smart on these things. Okay. Yeah. So now let me check my time. All right. So it's 10 minutes. All right. So yeah, and I quickly go through these two as well, just to give you a quick synopsis, right, of some of the things that you should understand. These are for front-end developers, so for the security guys and even enterprise guys, for the standards guys, these are also some checklist, right? So you guys have to know the internet, so that also we covered HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and probably add WebAssembly also for this, but this is the three, right? The important three. So if you don't understand these three, so the HTML is basically a markup language, which can you mark up everything with your not downs but markups, right? And then you have to understand your style sheets. You can style your documents. So basically, HTML is all documents, and then you come to dynamicism of the documents and your outlining through JavaScript. So JavaScript has gone a long way. It started with front end, now it has gone to the back end with Node.js and other technologies. So it can cover many things. You can do even plenty of other things in this using this three, right? And also don't forget version controlling. This even applies for DevOps, so you have to know your GitHub or Git actually, right? And then other related techniques, right? And also repo. So if you do use repos, you can use GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. Yeah. So the people are moving towards GitLab, as in Microsoft eat out GitHub, but it's been quite a while now. So, but I haven't seen much of a problem at the moment. So don't think Microsoft is the evil always, right? There can be other evil which you don't see. All right. Yeah. So then, of course, under JavaScript, you learn about basic constructs of language, which is a very weak language, but still, yeah. So not like C, but still good to know. And also DOMs, which is the major part, right? And also asynchronous JavaScripts, and also the APIs, and then you start from understand JavaScript libraries. There are millions of them out there, but at least learn a bit about React, but there's Angular, Vue.js, and there are so many other things, right? And also learn about front-end JavaScripts as well as back-end JavaScripts, and also learn about bit about progressive web apps and mobile apps, native apps, hybrid apps, and also, of course, progressive web apps, which can be good. And also you have to have a good knowledge about web security. I think you have learned some of these things. And of course, there you have to have HTTP knowledge or good about HTTPS, content security policy, cross origin policies, and OWASP top 10 and security risks. Yeah, so that's a handful, right? Yes. So yeah, so if you want to learn, everything is there, right? And then what else? Of course, the build tools. There are a lot of build tools which are related npm scripts for Node, and of course Webpack is there, and of course C love plenty of frameworks. Should love frameworks. So React is there, very strong, and then Angular and Vue. These are frameworks which you can do a lot of development things faster. And then of course under web components you have all these templates, and then the CSS frameworks. Under CSS framework you have Bootstrap, and there's a long list there, right? Of course, we talked about progressive web apps, which are the thing, right? So they use also TypeScript from Microsoft. Again, yeah, it's really, really important. And from the server-side rendering also, again, you have the same list, the three, right? And of course, GraphQL, so which is quite interesting these days. All right, and then of course, see WebAssembly. and it's quite interesting, right? So WebAssembly or WASM is the binary instructions generated from either. So we do have a separate session on that. And okay, very quick backend. So I'll do another video on this too. Don't worry. But this is just for you to understand what what you should know, at least very high level, right? Not in details, but in very high level, right? Very high level. So there you have learned DNSs, HTTP, domain name services, CSS, and JavaScripts. And on the operating system, we have looked at these things again. So because all your backend of your web servers runs on operating system, so there you have to understand them. And there are quite interesting languages or frameworks. So language-wise, of course, most of the web content runs on Java, I believe, in the backend, and also PHP. Java is very strong still with ESB and the enterprise architectures. Of course, .NET and C# is there, and Python, Ruby, and also there are other new languages, right? And also version controls comes in again. And also we should never ever stop thinking about our databases. So there's a handful again. Oracle is a very strong market leader, and there are other choices, Microsoft SQL Server, and also then you have MariaDB and also PostgreSQL, right? So some of them are not enterprise scale databases, some of them are. And then you have the NoSQL, the unstructured world. So we are living in an unstructured world where you have all everything which is unstructured. So you have MongoDB and CouchDB, DynaDB. So it's with DynamoDB, right? And also, then there are plenty other things. And of course, we should never forget about APIs, right? There are a lot of APIs around. So we'll come to this later on. And also security side of it, like OAuth, right? Cookie-based technologies. And caching with CDN and other things, and also web security, guys. Web security, pretty important. Right, some of them have learned it, some of them if you're not, please, I will have a lesson on that so you can watch it. All right, so yeah, it's a quick go through on these two, but I've taken more time on understanding the DevOps roadmap. Yes, so before we stop this session, let me take you a bit on the model. So we have actually looked at the model, so I don't really need to do it again, but this would be another way of looking at the same logic. So I have taken this from, guys, AWS DevOps page. So please understand, I have given the references for it. And so basically I'll quickly go through the benefits, right? So uh, benefits of what do you call DevOps. So the first one probably would be speed. So DevOps provide very high speed, and also then it provides rapid delivery. So we talked about in the previous video. So it provides rapid delivery. So increase the frequency and the pace releases you can innovate, and the quicker you can release new features with the continuous integration and continuous delivery. And also it provides a lot of reliability because you can have continuous monitoring. So it provides a whole lot of features to achieve reliability. So especially monitoring and logging and other things. And also remember, the world that we are living in, it requires every day to have more scalability. So scalability is something quite be seen in DevOps. So infrastructure as a code, so those things allow you to do that. And also we talked about the principles, and there we realized collaboration is something pretty important. So that is also covered in DevOps, improve collaboration. And also don't ever forget, because you guys are also from most in cyber security, so security of everything. So that's also can be supported from DevOps, right? So that's a very quick intro into DevOps, and then next time, the next session actually will be on moving from other technologies and moving towards other technologies. All right, let's wait and see. All right.